Hello everyone, welcome back to the Doctrine, Dogma, and Davide podcast. My name is Davide, and today we are joined by a special guest from the Relic project. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony DeMauro. I'm the founder and executive director for the Relic project, aka boom, here's our mission card.
I can put a graphic on screen if you want.
That'd be good too, yeah.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna edit that, I assume?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, okay.
The fewer of these interludes we put in, though, the less editing work I have to do. So
That is true.
Yeah.
Why don't we restart
Yeah, sure.
right from scratch?
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Doctrine, Dogma, and Davide podcast. My name is Davide, and today we are joined by my new friend, Anthony, courtesy of the Relic project. Anthony, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Well, hello everyone, my name is Anthony DeMauro, and I am the founder and executive director for the Relic project, where we aim to create the world's first online library for first and second class relics, so we as a church may know who we have, where they are located, and offer people like you and I opportunities to go venerate these sacred treasures.
All right, so I definitely want to dive into some of your work with the Relic project and what that's all about, but to start off, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your just personal faith journey and how you ended up, with the idea for the Relic project to start categorizing or cataloging all of these relics.
That's a great question. Well, my mother raised me with my father, and my father's a Mormon, my mother's a Catholic. However, growing up, I really didn't know much about my faith. Around 13 years old, my mother said to me, all right, you need to go and decide whether or not you want to be a Mormon or a Catholic. And so I decided to go get confirmed as a Catholic because it made the most logical sense to me. However, that didn't mean I knew what I believed. Now, it wasn't until I was challenged by a friend of mine about my faith that I really dove deeper into the beliefs of the Catholic faith. And not only did it strengthen me, but it helped me have awareness for what other people believed in. And also, growing up, my mom would take me to various religious ceremonies, Protestant, Orthodox, Mormon, of course, and others, and helped kind of expose me to various ways of worship. And that really helped me in my journey discerning the Catholic faith as it is universal, which is very beautiful. Now, the Relic project started out of curiosity. What do they say? The curious cat.
The curiosity killed the cat.
Curiosity
Yes.
killed the cat, right?
Hopefully no one dies in this story.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I was, able to volunteer with Father Carlos Martin's Treasures of the Church exhibit, where he goes and travels the world with over 250 relics that he obtained from the Vatican.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's very beautiful, and I had the opportunity just to go visit and volunteer and set up the relics. It was my first real encounter with relics.
Oh, wow.
A few years later, our cathedral in the Diocese of Spokane, Washington, receives a beautiful relic from Archbishop Grobe of Chicago. It's a relic of St. Peregrine. Now, we had just built a shrine in honor of that wonderful saint. But after our little novena, where he gifted us the relic, I noticed that our church hadn't put it out. Where did the relic go? And why isn't it out yet? So, the question came to me, well, if we have St. Peregrine, maybe we have other relics at the cathedral. And so I inquired with one of the priests there, and he said, oh, we have maybe 50 relics or so. And I asked, well, do you know who you have? He's like, I'm not sure. Do you know where they are? He's like, I'm not sure. And I'm thinking to myself, okay.
Feels like something you should be sure about. Or,
Yeah.
Or at least know where to find the information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I inquired with other churches in my diocese. St. Aloysius Church, which is attached to Gonzaga University. I heard a rumor that they had 80 relics. I heard another rumor that our bishop had around 40. and another rumor that the Poreclairs had too many to count.
Wow.
So that was fun trying to decipher those rumors.
Yeah. So then how did you sort of transition from this vague curiosity of like, wait, how many relics do we even have in this church into just this full-blown project now that has the endorsement of several bishops and, several very, fantastic influencers such as myself,
Well, it started with pondering upon the question of whether or not this has already been done before. And whether or not, like, it's just my diocese and it's not just, is it everywhere? That was the biggest question. Is this a problem that is everywhere? And is it amongst the Roman Catholics, just the Roman Catholics, or is it also the Eastern Orthodox Catholics? So what's the case here? And maybe it's also with the Protestants, who knows? Some Protestants, like Lutherans or Anglicans, who have a closer root to Catholicism.
I don't think Lutherans venerate relics, do they?
No, but they could have them in their churches.
I see.
Former Catholic churches, they could have them.
Oh, and just not realize they're there.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. That'd
So
be a problem.
that's one of the things that went through my mind. And so asking more questions in my diocese, I talked to our bishop, Bishop Thomas Daly, and he showed me his private chapel, and he shows me 4 relics, and 3 of which he didn't know are authentic, and 1 he has verified is real. And, that kind of got me on the journey of, okay, well, let me start asking more questions around town. Let me reach out to the diocesan archivist and see what he has to say. Because people are asking me, do you know what relic is in this this altar? Because every altar is supposed to have a relic of a martyr inside.
Not necessarily a martyr, but like some relic.
Yes, some relic. And so diocesan archivist gets back to me and he says, well, I have no idea. That's not something we documented. So, best of luck.
Right,
pretty
yeah.
much. And so I decided to talk to the Poreclairs. I find out that they have too many to count, so that rumor was true.
Sure, yeah.
And they had just sent off all their relics to Father Carlos Martins to get either repaired or authenticated.
Right, yeah.
And then I made the website, rough draft website,
Wow.
and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, that's wonderful. And you've brought with you a wonderful second-class relic of Blessed Carlo Acutis, who, God willing, is being canonized next year. Very excited for that. But, it definitely does remind me of Blessed Carlo Acutis, his ministry of, trying to log all of the Eucharistic miracles and put them up on a website. And so I can see why you took some inspiration from him and took him as one of your ministry's patrons.
Well, it's actually really funny, though, because that wasn't even running through my mind. I never even thought about Carlos Acutis. In fact, people kept on coming up to me and saying, after I would share the mission of the project, they would say, oh, so you're like Carlos Acutis, but for relics.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm not that holy, but
Sure.
And, really what was on our minds was Saint Anthony of Padua, because he's a finder of lost things and stolen artifacts. And so, with any patron saints, my thing is always making sure that they choose us. And how do we confirm that? Well, we pray and we implore that they, show us confirmations that they want to choose our project and be our patron. And that's what happened with St. Anthony of Padua. It also happened with Carlos Acutis after I started imploring, all right, do you want to be a patron of this project?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely experienced something similar as far as my my podcast, because over the course of making my podcast and my videos, two saints that I hadn't really thought of much before have kept coming up as intercessors for my podcast. And one of them is not canonized as a saint, although I accidentally may have sort of canonized him on my business cards by mistake. Venerable Pius XII and Saint Robert Bellarmine have both been really, really huge in my podcast. and they have sort of become the patrons of my work. And so it really is amazing how like the saints choose their own patronages in a certain sense, you know?
Oh, it sure is.
So tell me a little bit more about, you know, what the current state of the Relic project is. Like, do you have, like, how many, like, regions have you mapped? How many relics do you have on your database?
Well, our mission right now is to build the internal infrastructure of the organization itself. And that is, we have phases. So phase one is start local. So that's going to be in Eastern Washington in the United States of America. Start local, weed out all the bugs and stuff with the technology. And then as we are building the internal infrastructure of the organization, that's when, while we're doing that, we're also spreading word of our mission, gaining exposure. So this interview in and of itself is part of phase one, which is just share the mission. Let people know that we exist. And, you know, we've had churches already reach out from across the globe saying, we have this amount of relics. We would like help getting them cataloged.
Wow.
We also have, we have a lot of people reaching out, and we just say, we're not there yet, and that's okay. We don't want to be a home run hitter and run ahead of ourselves and then trip, because it's important to go slow. I mean, when you think about these bigger Catholic organizations like Mother Angelica's EWTN network, it was started in the 80s. And now it's grown to the largest Catholic media network in the nation. I mean, not in the nation, in the world.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Not even Catholic, just the largest media network. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so when you think about it, with any organization, you start small.
Right.
And that's how God grows and bears the fruits as they come.
Yeah. So, you know, is there a way that people can, like, you know, sign up to maybe get involved, you know, like as you prepare for maybe phase two? Or actually, how about you go ahead and explain the other two phases before we get into that? So what's phase two look like?
Yeah, so phase two is database is complete. It's ready for people to actually create their own accounts and add their relics on it. Phase two also is inviting missionaries or ambassadors across the globe to join the project. And, you know, within phase one, we're also looking for people to help us build this so that we can get into phase two. And then phase three is we're out doing the work, and we have our missionaries out there. We got our swag. We're doing active fundraising, phase two and phase three, and even phase one, because we need money to be able to fund these things. So
Right, yeah.
on our website, you know, we almost have our nonprofit status for federal in the U.S., so we could actually do online fundraising, which would be great. So, you know, there's that.
Okay, so then what about phase three? What does phase three look like?
Well,
Or are there only two phases?
well, there's phase one, which is internal infrastructure, building
Right.
the organization. Phase two, which is establish the missionary work and establish the
Right.
get people
Get people
logged
to be able
in
to like
onto the
log their
database,
own
get their
relics
stuff
of their
going.
parish. Yeah.
And phase three is more of a completion of the whole project itself. Therefore, it's in operation. It's going out into the world. It's already set up. It's basically flying like a bird.
Yeah. So
It's
so
doing its
basically,
thing.
like you have the database, but maybe you're also like maybe phase three is the point at which you can start like leveraging it for like evangelical work and like, you know, taking relics on tour. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat in that case. I mean, that's more. It kind of meshes all together.
So do you have like an email list or anything that people cannot sign up to right now? Or like
Yeah,
how
so-
can people like, you know, start to dip their toe in the water?
Right. So
now?
we have a contact in our website where you can reach out and sign up to volunteer. We'll also have a donation portal eventually. And if you want to join our project or help with exposure and spread the word about our mission, you can just contact me at director.relicproject@gmail.com,
I'll put that email in the description.
and we can send you mission cards and share with your community about the relics that you would like to explore. And in that case, if you're bold and courageous enough, we would love to invite you to come discern with us of what missionary work might look like.
All right, wonderful. Is there anything else that you would want to add for the people watching?
Well, I think I wanted to share the story of these relics here.
Yeah,
So
let's get into it.
This is Saint Vincent de Paul, Saint Louis de Marillac, and Saint Catherine Labouré, who received the miraculous medal. Now, these were some of the relics that we found at our cathedral, and they were found in a priest's room, and he decided to gift a bunch of relics to the Relic Project because our ultimate vision is for every region of the world to establish chapels for the relics that are found. So these relics right here, these ones, will eventually end up in a chapel right in Spokane.
Oh, wonderful.
So I also wanted to share about our patron saint, St. Anthony. How did he choose the project? Well, my friend, who is a Filipino lady, she calls me up one day and she says, and this is while the board and myself are praying about who's going to be our patron saint.
Right.
You know, she calls me up one day and she says, "Hey, Anthony, I found this, I was praying and I was asking God, how can I help you with this project?" And God reminded me that I have a statue in the basement of St. Anthony, and it's a statue, it's an artifact, it's a relic, and I'm not quite clear of what it is. Is it a relic? Is it an artifact? Is it a relic inside the statue? She's like, no. It's a wooden statue with an ivory head. It comes from the Philippines. It's 300 years old. And I'm like, oh, wow. And she says, I want to give it to you. And it will help make bridges with the Filipino community, both internationally and here locally. And also St. Anthony's to find our lost things. So there you go. And I think, okay, that's cool. And then we have our novena of Our Lady of Lourdes that came up. And second to last day of this novena, we had the blessing of the objects. And the lady, she calls my help and she says, I need your help. I don't know her. She doesn't know me. It's like, okay, I can help you carry this big crucifix to get blessed. And next day, she pulls me aside and she says, you know, I wanted to give you something as a gift. I'm like, lady, you barely know me. and she pulls out this brown bag and she says, I was looking in my house and I was praying to God and I was asking, what should I give you as a gift for helping me with the blessing of the objects? And she says, and she pulls out this brown bag and pulls out a statue of St. Anthony and gives it to me. And it's beautiful, right? Third time, and I think God works in threes to confirm things, often or not. Third time, we have our kickoff celebration in the Diocese of Spokane, and I share the story that I just shared with y'all. And at the end, I say, well, you know, we don't have a relic of St. Anthony yet, but we hope to have him someday because he is our patron saint now, because he's made it very clear to us.
Yeah.
And so this lady, she says, hey, at the end of this event, she says, you know, I have a relic of St. Anthony that I've been meaning to give to someone. And as much as my heart does not want to depart from this relic, I want to give it to a place that will honor it and, you know, actually use the relic in a way that people can actually encounter the saint through the relic. And she's like, I didn't want to give it to a priest. I didn't want to give it to like just anyone. I was praying, God, St. Anthony, please show me where this is supposed to go. And so she's telling me the story and I say, and? And she's like, all right, here you go. Here's this relic. And so we are gifted a first-class relic of St. Anthony of Padua, and it's got the history traced. It's authentic, which is very beautiful.
Wow.
And so, you know, that's how St. Anthony chose the project. And who is he? He's the founder of Lost Things. He's the founder of stolen artifacts. Like we even had a church in Australia that said, hey, we had a bunch of relics stolen. Can you look on your online database and see if if there's a diocese we can reach out to who has the same relics? I'm thinking to myself, man, if only we had the database built yet.
Yeah.
If only we had it there.
Yeah.
I said, okay, hold your horses. We'll eventually someday.
Right. Yeah.
And I was also like thinking about this project being beneficial for exorcists. Now, let's say you're in a community and you're an exorcist and you really want to, you have a demoniac, someone who's possessed by a demon, and you're having a case and you invoke a name of a saint, yet you don't have the relic with you, you could potentially go to this database and find the relic and bring the relic into the exorcism, and that could also be a tool and resource for the church.
Yeah.
Along with that, you think of natural disaster and prevention, right?
Yeah.
The Cathedral of Notre Dame that experienced that great fire, there was a Netflix documentary that covered this story. The crown of thorns, the great crown of thorns that pierced the skull of Christ, was in the church. Mm-hmm. And there was a replica, and then there was the real one. Now, most of the people knew about the replica. Some of the people knew about the real one and where it was, because they don't want people to go steal the crown of thorns, right? Anybody would want to steal the crown of thorns. I would want to steal. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But, the fire hits. They save the replica first, and then they're calling people, and, one guy wakes up and he's like, oh, that's not it. And so he gets to the cathedral and he runs in and saves the real one, because it was only a few people who knew the actual location of this relic. Wow. And now if you had a database that had a list for that parish, and they can have their own private list that says, okay, this is where the relic is in this church, you could have easily gone to this list and said, okay, there it is. Let's go get it. Or maybe there was an earthquake, and there you have a list of relics that were in the church so that you can actually recover them.
Right, yeah.
And say, okay, we're going to look for these
specific
saints. You
can know if
saints.
You found them all, yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So there are some really good things about this project. I pray that it will be a fingernail of the church. Is that weird?
A little, but that's okay, yeah.
But I also pray that it may be a way of ecumenism between the Orthodox and the Catholic churches, and hopefully heal some of the schism that we have experienced over the past thousands of years. So
yeah, for me, the biggest thing is just the fact that, there are way more relics out there than I think people realize. Like, you are way closer to, like, a relic of a saint than you probably realize, because a lot of churches don't even realize how many relics that they have, or, like, the relics that are in this church or that church. And I mean, like, and of course, I currently live in Rome, and here it's on a whole nother level. Everybody knows how many, like, relics there are here. But, like, even in the United States and Australia, like, wherever you are, there's tons of relics. And I think that it would be great to help people to be able to find those, and, like, maybe even just, like, find their favorite saint and to be able to venerate the relics of those saints.
And, speaking on those lines, we had a missionary at the National Eucharistic Congress, and she was sharing about the mission, sharing our mission cards with booths. And, she mentioned that one person said to her, well, this sounds like a really fantastic project. There's a relic of St. Faustina above our fridge in the sacristy.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, what? Let's bring the story of that saint out into that community and let them see the beauty of her life.
Yeah.
And let her life be an inspiration, and an inspiration for people to come to Jesus, because what's the whole core of this project? It's so people can encounter Christ through the relics. They can encounter that physical, the relics, they bridge the gap between heaven and earth. And it's very beautiful, because when you see a relic of a saint, we know in Scripture that our bodies will be resurrected, but also, like, if you're in heaven, you're alive. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, they can pray for us, and they have the power of intercession. Like, I can pray for Davide, and boom, power of intercession, but, like, on a whole nother level. And so that's the beautiful thing about relics, is it's not only biblical, Old Testament and New Testament, but also there's been many miracles, many testimonies of healings. And so our project also aims to feature some of those stories of healings and encounters with relics, so that people really understand that these are beautiful treasures that we should honor.
Wonderful. Yeah. So the website for the Relic project will be linked down in the description. I would encourage everybody to, you said you don't have like an email list or anything.
Oh,
so-
yeah, we do.
Oh,
So
okay,
you can
okay,
subscribe to our email list.
Sign up for the email list.
But most
and,
importantly, you can share us on social media and share us on Facebook. Find us there. We got LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll have more things in the future, but right now we're small and we're babies, and this is okay.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to like, comment, do whatever it is that people of the internet do. And if you want to support my ministry, you can, of course, also go to Patreon, which is linked in the description. And I hope you all have a very blessed day. God bless you all.
God bless.